When people revisit their high school years, most of them would look back with fondness. High school was often a great time. You forge deeper friendships that last a lifetime. It is the time when you first fell in love and the era where you thought school dances were the most important thing in the world. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. But not everyone has the same high school experience. Some people would look back and remember a humiliating time, a time when people bullied them. High school may be a great time to be young and alive, but for some, they just can't wait to get it over with and get a fresh start. Desiree was an average high school student. The 17-year-old wanted to attend a top college, so she really tried her best to get good marks at school. She prepared early for her SATs too. Desiree's friends knew of her goal and were very supportive of it. Together, they would talk about what life would be like once high school is over and they start life at uni, where they will have to seriously work for their chosen careers. Desiree Turner started out loving high school. She enjoyed going to class every day. Desiree was the type of girl who got along well with everyone in her class. So what happened to her came out as a shock to everyone who knew her. The school Desiree attended was Green Canyon High School. Green Canyon High School is located in the small town of North Logan, a Cache County in Utah. The town had only over 10,000 residents according to the 2019 census. It is no surprise that it has a tight-knit community. It was a small town, and nearly all the students knew who each other in one way or another. Everyone grew up together, and everyone knew everybody in town. When there were school events like pep rallies and sports events, the whole community showed up. High school was a challenging time for kids. It is the time where your body goes through changes, where you are most conscious of your looks, and where you are still figuring out who you want to be. It is important to have a home environment that will keep you safe and sane. Luckily enough, Desiree grew up with parents who supported her all the way. Her home was a loving environment. Her parents encouraged her to reach for her dreams. So you can just imagine how devastated her parents were when something happened to Desiree. North Logan is in fact one of the safest places to raise children in. It had a suburban feel with lots of parks, and most of the residents own their homes, so the community was able to see each other grow through the years. North Logan has a low crime rate. The chance of you becoming a victim of a crime is 1 in 74. This is why when an unfortunate incident happened to a sweet girl like Desiree, the whole town was shocked. They would have never expected such violence to come from one of their kids. Desiree did not expect that she would be a victim of a violent crime in North Logan. This was a safe environment. This was a place where people can go about their business without fear for their safety. She never imagined that her peers could treat her so cruelly. In fact, the whole incident was so traumatizing that Desiree's parents never left her side after it happened. Desiree clearly needed them more now that she has faced unexpected cruelty, and they were willing to do everything to protect their daughter. The day of the cruel incident started ordinarily, as most fateful days would. There were no warnings of the evil that Desiree would have to face later that day. Desiree woke up in a good mood and went on about her way in school. When school was over, Desiree remained on campus for a few more hours. She and her friends usually stayed after school hours to study and help each other with lessons and assignments. After the study group, she started to walk home. It was almost dinner time when the study group was done, so Desiree was walking home from school as fast as she could. While walking, she felt something strange. It was as if something inside was warning her. She suddenly felt that someone was watching her. Soon, Desiree was able to identify shadows from behind her. She was definitely being followed. She looked back and saw 2 boys. She knew them from school and identified them as Coulter Peterson and Jason Decker. The 2 boys seemed to be waiting for her to pass by. Desiree did not panic at first, since she knew the 2 boys from school, but as the pair approached her, she suddenly felt fear. Their approach was anything but friendly. It turned out that they wanted something from Desiree. They needed money and saw her as an easy target. After all, it was getting dark and she was all alone. Desiree looked around and found that nobody was around to help her. When the boys voiced out their intentions to rob her, Desiree tried her best to escape. She ran away from the 2 boys as fast as she can. Unfortunately, Desiree was not fast enough. She was small and hardly athletic. The 2 boys were able to catch up with her. One of the boys had pushed her onto the pavement. There was a brief struggle as she tried to escape once more. The fall had hurt her, but she fought back as hard as she could until she heard a loud noise. Somewhere in the struggle, Desiree had lost her consciousness. She woke up in a hospital room, and it felt like she was out for a long time. Desiree felt confused. The last thing she could remember was the loud noise before darkness took over. Desiree tried to remember what happened that fateful day. She could not understand why she was in the hospital. She gazed at all the tubes attached to her arms. Then, Desiree tried to move. She found that she could not feel her limbs. She tried to call out for help, but she could not make a sound. What was happening to her? Fortunately, a nurse came by her room to do some routine checkups. She noticed Desiree was conscious and immediately called for the doctor to come to see her. Desiree was about to cry. She could not feel anything from her waist down. She began to panic and feel scared. The doctor and her parents were soon by her side. Desiree was crying by then. Why can't she move? Why can't she speak? She looked around to try to see her reflection, but could not find anything. What happened to her? Her parents tried to calm her down. The doctor then explained in a calm and soothing voice that she was currently suffering from paralysis. He then gave the news. It turned out that the loud noise she heard was a gunshot. She was shot. The boys she went to school with did not only rob her, but they also shot at her. They shot her in the head, and they had left her lying in the pavement for dead. She could not believe it. How could they treat her so cruelly? It turned out she was unconscious for quite some time when she got shot. It was already dark, and the boys had left her for dead. Fortunately, a Good Samaritan found her body about 8 hours after she was shot. Had she been left out there for a longer time, she would have probably not survived. The Good Samaritan immediately contacted emergency services. Desiree was immediately brought to the hospital, and the medical team immediately worked to save her. Her chances of survival was low, but to their surprise, Desiree kept breathing and she made it through the surgery. Desiree surviving the attack was considered a miracle, but then she had to deal with more problems. Desiree had to go through physiotherapies to be able to move her legs. She needed speech therapy to start talking again. The violence she had gone through took so much from her. What would happen to her dreams? How will she finish school if she can't talk or walk? Thankfully, now that she's conscious, her body and brain started to heal at a faster pace. While Desiree was in the hospital, the authorities were looking for the suspects who shot her. A lot of people suspected Coulter and Jason right away. The two managed to have a reputation for being bad boys in town. In fact, some students have informed the authorities that the two often discussed firearms in school shootings. The cruel attack on Desiree and reports of the boys planning to do a school shooting was enough to have them locked up. When news about the attack on Desiree spread, the whole town was in shock. Nobody expected such a crime to happen in their quiet town. What made it worse is that almost everyone knew the boys involved. Nobody expected that Jason and Coulter were capable of doing such cruelty to someone they had known and grew up with. News of the attack and the arrest had the whole town talking. As the date for Desiree's trial was approaching, Desiree had enough speech therapy to be able to talk. Everyone waited for the trial and was looking forward to hearing what Desiree had to say. When the trial for Desiree's case started, Jason and Coulter knew that they could not do a not guilty plea. Aside from Desiree's testimony, there was CCTV footage that caught them on the scene of the crime. There were no excuses and alibis that could save them now. The two boys did not give Desiree's family a long fight in court. They immediately announced that they were pleading guilty to the crime. Despite this, they still had to sit in court and listen to Desiree's testimony. One of the boys cried as he listened to what she had to say, unable to look at her. After listening to Desiree give her account of what happened that fateful day and the CCTV footage was presented, the judge knew without a doubt that the boys were truly guilty. Desiree will have her justice and the boys will get what they deserved. Jason and Coulter were given a sentence of 15 years to life in prison for Desiree's assault. The two boys will be released after 15 years, but hopefully the time they spent in prison would have changed them for the better. The trial had been hard on Desiree. She could not understand why her schoolmates chose to attack her and shoot her. For 3 years, they have seen each other in the hallways of their school, and they even took classes together. During the trial, as she was giving her testimony, Desiree looked at them in the eyes and told them that what they did to her was horrible. It was pretty understandable why Desiree harbored anger and hate towards them. The incident was very traumatic for Desiree, but she was not going to let what happened to her affect the rest of her life. Desiree was very grateful that she was alive, and she plans to live life to the fullest. She hopes that one day she can put everything behind her. Sadly, it may take a while for Desiree to forget this incident, as she had suffered a lot of damage from the gunshot wound on her head. Aside from the paralysis, there was permanent damage to her head. She had to go through a lot of risky surgeries. The people of North Logan had a lot of thoughts about the terrible incident. A lot of things had to change for Desiree. Her plans to go to college had to be put on hold. But despite having to carry a lot of these medical issues for life, she tried her best to regain control and have a normal life. The whole community came together to think of ways to help out Desiree and her family. Local businesses sent Desiree and her family different things that they hope will help them. A business also gave Desiree a bicycle to inspire her to be well enough to take it out for a ride. Although thankful for everything, Desiree had a longing for something else. In her high school, the homecoming dance was about to take place. This was one of the times where a teenager gets to dress up and feel like a princess. Desiree was looking forward to the homecoming dance before the incident happened. But now, she did not know if she would get the chance to go and feel like a normal teenager again. Just like any high school girl, Desiree had dreams of being the homecoming queen. That would have been a magical experience, but after everything, all she had to do was a dream. Desiree's closest friends knew all about Desiree's dream to be homecoming queen, so they campaigned on behalf of her. By this time, everyone in school knew what happened between their three schoolmates. Everyone was willing to do something nice for Desiree. When the big day came, the whole school and community gathered on the football field as usual. When Desiree's name was announced as the homecoming queen, she could not believe it. Everyone in the stands cheered and gave her a standing ovation. Desiree was in shock. By this time, Desiree could stand and move around, but she still needed support to walk. Her father came to her aid and helped her walk over to the stage, where the homecoming king waited. She still looked shocked, but incredibly happy as the crown was placed on her head. Desiree was very happy. It was the Cinderella moment that she was dreaming of, and it was real. As homecoming queen, she had to give a speech in front of everyone. She told everyone how grateful she was for the support and how she hoped every girl would also get their Cinderella moment. Desiree's story did not only move her hometown. Her story managed to get national attention and has moved people across the nation. Although violence like this was not odd, people were shocked that the incident happened between classmates in high school. Soon, Desiree was being invited to speak about her survival and how she recovered. Desiree was willing to share her story with anyone who wanted to hear it. She hoped that her story would inspire other victims of violence to reclaim their lives. Before the incident, Desiree had her eyes on one goal: to go to one of the top universities in the nation. But now, she had a lot of schoolwork to catch up with, and she still had one more year of high school to go. Her need for constant medical treatment could also force her to delay her plans to go to college. But to Desiree, it was okay. As a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, she found herself a new calling through church missions. Desiree became an active and inspirational member of the community. For Desiree, her life was just beginning. She is currently trying her best to finish high school and plans to be more involved with the church when she graduates. She used to plan to be a veterinarian since she loves animals, but thankfully her church also has missions that involve work with animals. Desiree remains strong and determined despite everything she has gone through. She had to relearn how to talk and walk, but that did not stop her from living life to the fullest.